The Path of Kriya Yoga, Video 2. What is Kriya Yoga? In order for us to be able to appreciate and understand fully what Kriya Yoga is, it's important for us to remind ourselves of what yoga is. Now, you may have your own understanding of what yoga is and perhaps even your own definition, but for the purpose of this explanation, I'm going to define yoga as being the unification of our individual ordinary states of consciousness with absolute consciousness. Now, they're broad terms, so just to break it down a little. In our ordinary states of consciousness, we use our relationships with manifested reality as a means to prove our own existence, to define our own existence. So we have relationships with the physical world and the things around us. We also have relationships with our emotional experiences and with our mental processes. And by identifying with these aspects of manifested reality, by identifying with the physical, the emotional, and the mental aspects of our being, we endeavor to prove our existence. So we use these relationships with manifested reality in its different forms to define who we are. And this is an ordinary state of consciousness. A pure conscious state is not reliant on any manifested external reality in order to prove its existence. Pure conscious being is a state of being which is self-knowing. So it's not dependent on any type of relationship. So what we're endeavoring to do through the practice of yoga is to purify our identifying, our engaging, our entanglement with different aspects of manifested reality on a physical level, on an emotional level, and on a mental level, so that we are free of these definitions. So we're purifying our being, purifying our consciousness, so as to experience a state of consciousness which is free from identification with aspects of manifested reality. And when we do this, we're able to experience consciousness in its pure form, and we're able to recognize our existence as pure conscious beings. Then we realize the unity of absolute pure consciousness, because it's without definition, it's without limitation, it's without boundaries or any kind of confinement. So this is what our yoga practice is. Then the word kriya comes from the root kri, which is the same root for the word karma. And this term is used in reference to actions or practices. So Kriya Yoga is the endeavoring to unify our individual ordinary state of consciousness with absolute consciousness through specific practices or actions. So, given that this is the technical definition, any group of people or any tradition or organization or whatever it might be that are endeavoring to experience unified consciousness, oneness consciousness through specific practices, can say that they are practicing Kriya Yoga. However, the term Kriya Yoga has become considered a specific branch of yoga. So we're familiar with other branches of yoga, such as Kundalini Yoga, Hatha Yoga. And so Kriya Yoga is used in reference to a specific branch of yoga, where there are specific practices being taught to help the practitioner to experience self-realization. Now, I'm not as familiar with Indian culture, but from what I understand, the term Kriya Yoga has been used to describe or in reference to a specific branch of yoga for many centuries. And this has become more popularly known since the revival of the Kriya Yoga tradition through the teachings of Lahiri Mahasaya. In the West, through the workings and the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, the tradition the specific tradition and branch of Kriya Yoga has been popularized and has become widely known. So the term Kriya Yoga, although it can be used by any individual who is participating in specific practices to experience oneness consciousness or yoga, it is used specifically for the practices which were taught by the sage Lahiri Mahasaya and which were passed down through his devotees and their successors. And this is the path of Kriya Yoga, which this video series is given reference to.